The pandemic is hard. It's been hard for everybody. So I think one of the most important take-home messages, I know in Toronto, we are still dealing with the pandemic. We are in lockdown again, and a lot of the world is kind of going in that direction. I think the best thing that you can do is just take everything one day at a time and be kind to yourself. So especially from a fitness perspective, everybody has ebbs and flows. When we've got these really profound, stressful events that affect everybody, just do what you can today, right now, within the next hour, to be kind to your body, to be kind to your mind.
Welcome to Clicks and Bricks Podcast. We talk about the entrepreneur mindset, everything from that Main Street brick and mortar to that billion-dollar manufacturer. Be sure to head over to clicksandbricksacademy.com so you can access all the resources to start improving your sales today.
Today we have Bree Munoz. She's with Balance with Bree. She's a personal trainer that takes a holistic approach that recently had to move her entire business to online from brick and mortar business. And we're going to hear her story and learn a little bit about Bree today. How are you doing today, Bree?
Great, thank you.
Thank you for joining us. I know that you're a busy lady, and we're super excited to hear your story. Before we jump in, can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself and how you got started with Balance with Bree?
Of course. I started personal training almost 9 years ago, and I started working in a big box gym, as a lot of us do. And then I just realized the limitations of being in one location and for working for obviously a large company. And I expanded out on my own about 3 years ago and started in one fixed location in Toronto, Ontario, and then started traveling around to people's houses as well. So that's kind of the evolution of Balance with Bree. And then with COVID, obviously, I had to adapt, and I moved my entire business online and have been virtually coaching private, semi-private, and large group training online for the past 2 years.
Fantastic. So a hot topic today across the country, and I think across the world, is the Great Resignation. You jumped on that trend earlier than most folks, but you realized that working for a corporation, you were just trading your time for money, and you really didn't have a whole lot of upside into that situation.
Yes.
You were 9 years as a personal trainer before you went out on your own, or 9 years total right now?
9 years total. So
Okay.
It was about 6.5, 7 years before I went out on my own.
Right.
To be fair, that actually was kind of combined with another opportunity. So I actually was offered a marketing and advising role through a fitness startup, which was what kind of kickstarted the push outside of the big box gym. Because of schedule limitations, I needed to be available for that. So at the same time as I was leaving to pursue the tech startup in the fitness world, I moved my clients and kind of used that opportunity to start my own business as well. So it was a little bit cushier of a transition than a lot of people have had when it comes to going out on their own, because I had a full-time opportunity to kind of align with that.
Right. So which is important anytime that you're going to exit one system and go into another, especially if you're starting your own business. If you don't have a couple of key clients to help you get started, you're going to have to figure out how to make some kind of income during that transition, unless you're going to live off your savings, which I don't necessarily recommend unless you have a whole lot of faith in your idea and concept. So
yeah,
what Bree did is she aligned herself as an advisory role that had some income coming in. Today, I think, there's really no excuse for it. You can Uber, you can Instacart. There's plenty of ways that you can get your rent paid while you're starting your business today. So I think it's, I applaud you for making that jump. Can you tell the audience a little bit about, you had a little bit of a cushion. Did you have any kind of, regrets leaving your team, starting on your own? Maybe I know people all the time are like, well, I don't want to compete with my old boss or steal clients from friends. What were some of the thought processes going through your head when you're like, I'm done with corporate world. I'm gonna be my own person and in charge of my own destiny?
So in personal training, I think it's quite unique in the fitness industry, because without mentioning the names of the company that I worked for before, I think it's widely known in fitness that the big box gyms are quite exploitative, and the corporate fitness world is very exploitative of personal trainers. So it was such a hustle for the 5+ years that I was there, almost 6 years. Basically, the way it worked structurally is you were not paid any sort of base rate for what you were doing to acquire new clients. And it was also, client acquisition was also on the trainer. So you're basically running your own business just under the kind of umbrella of the corporation. So you were paying your dues that way. So the benefit is that it trained all of us how to run our own businesses and how to bring in new clients. So that was great. A lot of skill development, invaluable skill development there. We just were paying over 40 to 50% of what the client was paying was going to the gym. So for me, it was just simply a natural transition because I could see, conceptually how my business would play out if that 40 to 50% was coming directly to me. And what I did was I joined a business, like another business that was already established by somebody that I'd worked with before at the big box gym. He owned a facility and he was just basically renting out space to trainers. So you could pay either per hour if you had, very few clients, or you could pay monthly for unlimited, which is what I did. And the benefit of that was there were still other trainers around me. So I didn't really lose that like camaraderie or the team environment because we still, built relationships, chatted about clients, brainstormed, kind of bounced ideas off each other. But we were all entrepreneurs in that space running our own businesses. So as far as competition goes, I've actually never really felt like there was competition in the industry because I think personal training and fitness in general is about building relationships and there's nobody else like me. So there's no competition really in that space, even if there are other trainers. My clients are coming to me for what I have to offer. So I don't even really think about anybody else in the industry ever. I look at people and I get inspired by what they're doing for my business. But as far as my offerings for my clients, there is no one else. So I never really had that issue.
Yeah, I think what you're saying there is so important. And I love your mindset there on there's no competition because I'm the only me. And I think where you find that confidence is that you understand that the world is an abundant place, right? So frequently people are scared, like, oh, I'm not going to do that because somebody else is already doing it. But it's your personality and your whatever it is about you, your twang or your sizzle that's going to bring them to you and do business with you, especially on these one-on-one or small group environments. I think it's really important to remember that and to really remember that the world is abundant. There's plenty of work out there for everybody to do. If you're a personal trainer or you're a photographer, or it doesn't matter what you do, there's plenty of work out there. You just got to align yourself and tell your personal story. And then people will want to work with you because you align with them or their desires and their needs and what they do. I think that's phenomenal that you take that approach, right? Because that's not a lot of business owners have that mindset today of, well, I'm the only me, so there is no competition. I see a lot of people thinking, I'm not going to do that because it's already saturated, right? So I think it's great. And then you get a lot of benefit out of everybody else's marketing your product as well. So really, you just got to shine yourself, right? Because personal training is already marketed and branded pretty high level. Fantastic. Thank you for that story. I very much appreciate it. I love that mindset. It's a fantastic one to have. So just going in a little bit, is there any books that you've read that have really made a significant change in your life that you could share with the audience?
So completely aligned with what we just said. One of my favorite, if we're talking business inspirations, and I will say this carries over into my personal life as well, but Simon Sinek's Start With Why was one of the most profoundly impactful books that I've read. And I'm a big reader, so I've read a lot. And all of my leisure reads are professional and personal development. But I found that was really, it really helped me center in on what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, because I've been on the same path since I was about 16. I took a kinesiology class in high school just out of curiosity, was so obsessed with learning about the human body from the inside out. So I pursued continued education. My post-secondary was in kinesiology as well. And it just naturally evolved from there and into a fitness career because I found that was the best way to utilize my skill set, but also have a broad enough scope that I could touch on all of the things that I like to incorporate when it comes to living an optimal lifestyle. So initially when I was a kid, I thought it would be medicine, but I found medicine a little too restrictive. Didn't really make sense for me and the way that I wanted to kind of pursue health promotion, let's call it, as opposed to treatment. So Start With Why just I think everybody runs into little places in their life where you have to kind of check yourself again. Like, you know what you want, you know what you're doing, you've got this forward momentum, but the pandemic is a perfect opportunity to kind of, it put a little stop in a lot of people's trajectory, where you have to stop and just refocus and be like, is this what I want? Is this the right direction for me? Is this giving me everything I want? Because I practice kind of life balance on a daily with myself as well. So I'm not strictly business, strictly fitness. I have to balance out my own life, which is exactly what I kind of prescribe to my clients. So start with why really helped me. Start from the outside. What am I doing on a tangible basis? What am I doing for the outside world? And then, get back, kind of center in on, why am I doing this? What is my philosophy? Where does my passion lie? Does it still connect with what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis and what I'm putting out there in the world? I've gone back to that book 3 different times and read it 3 different times and gone through the activities and the exercises to recenter, because the pandemic had a really, really profound impact on me. As much as I pivoted very, very quickly and transitioned to the online space, I got very caught up in the what I was doing and got a little disconnected from the why I was doing it, because I never envisioned myself as a virtual trainer. I thought that that would be, very disconnected from that personal relationship that I was building. So I had to kind of come back around, look at myself and say, is this what I want? Is this still what I'm doing? Does this still make sense? Is my passion still being fulfilled through this virtual space? And thankfully, the answer is always yes. Thankfully, I'm constantly coming back to the same place. And I'm a spiritual person as well. I believe that the universe is constantly giving me reinforcement. This is where I need to be. This is where my passions are best executed. This is where my skill development is, kind of continuous and snowballing, where I'm offering a little bit more through every stage of development in my business.
I don't know that if I read that book or not. I know that I have my why, and if I've not read the book, I'm going to reread it anyway. I know it's in my list. I just don't recall specifically reading it. And what that talks about, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, is your personal why you're doing business, why you're doing this specific kind of business, right? And that's different for everybody. For me, it's my son. I've actually got a YouTube video about my super why, is what I call it, right? I don't know if I got that from that specific book or not.
Yep.
I got it from one of my coaches somewhere in my life, I know. But it's really important to have that why and constantly go back to it, because it's really easy to get caught up in the what I'm doing and not the why I'm doing it, right? And the why,
Yes.
if you don't know what your why is, then you're going to have a hard time getting through any kind of bump in the road, right?
Well, that, and I find, especially for me as a solo entrepreneur, I am my business. I am the product. There's no product external to me. So I think certain businesses you might be able to, coast through without having a really substantial connection to your why, or without your clientele or your demographic really being able to identify what your why is from the outside. But as a holistic health and wellness practitioner, as a personal trainer, there's no way to hide from your why. You can't disguise it, because humans are very good at detecting inauthenticity. And I think that now, especially with fitness being online, it opens up people's opportunities to, take or consume fitness from anywhere in the world. I think the people who know why they're doing it and are doing it for genuine, authentic reasons beyond a business model are very easily identified in the market. And consumers are we're way more critical. I think technology just makes us more critical anyways. So I think it's just super, super important for people to really stand in their purpose, stand in their why. It gets you up in the morning. Personal training is a very difficult business, a very difficult industry, super, super competitive if you get caught up in the competition. The lifestyle is very challenging. You have to live and breathe your why and your prescriptions that you're giving out to your clients. The hours can be terrible. They can be 6 a.m. till 9 p.m. So you really have to understand and embody why you're doing what you're doing, not the what so much. The what, anything that gets people moving and off the couch and is safe for them and, tailored to that individual, is going to get people results. That's, if that's all you're standing for, there's, thousands of other people that can come and do that better than you. It's why you're doing it that's more important.
Absolutely. And I think moving into the future, right? There's, at Clicks and Bricks, we talk about the brick and mortar and the online and the marriage of both. And I'm a very firm believer that we have to have both long term. But what you're talking about, the personal trainers have to do right now, and they're going through this today, a lot of other businesses are going to be going through it over the next 5, 10, 15 years, is that you have to put some kind of personal persona out there for people to relate to. As more and more of our technology moves online, you're going to have these relationships virtually, and people are going to then flock to genuineness, right? And it's not all that simple to be genuine with a camera facing right at you, right? So you start to be a little cheesy, or you make up these different personas and stuff like that. So my advice that if you're in business today is to get in front of a camera and practice as much as you possibly can, publish it, remove, and just try to get down to being yourself in front of a camera. I think it's going to be a wildly important part of business, in every single business. I don't care what you're doing. If you're selling socks, I think you're going to have to be selling socks on a camera at some point. If you're selling to an individual or you're selling 1 million pairs to Walmart, I don't think it matters. You're going to have to be comfortable with a camera stuck in your face, and you're going to have to be authentic in that scenario. So it takes a lot of practice. It's not simple to do. So what you've done there is you figured that out. And a lot of personal trainers, they moved on to other things during the pandemic, right? Because they couldn't figure out how to go online. They couldn't be authentic online. And it's challenging, but it's wildly valuable when you figure it out. So,
and I think with the authenticity comes being real. And I think a lot, because fitness is such an aesthetic industry, I think it becomes very challenging. And all of us as fitness professionals, especially with the virtual transition, have developed this barrier with the self-criticism. We all want to look perfect in our fitness videos, but I think I've had to check myself so many times, just saying, like, the more stress and like pressure for perfection you put on yourself is going to transcend through those videos, and anybody watching them is going to feel critical of themselves, thinking, well, if this person looks so perfect, maybe I can't relate to them, and maybe I will either move past these videos and not use them, or I'm going to be criticizing myself because I'm not attaining that same level of perfection. So I think it's just really important for us to represent, as trainers, as fitness professionals, all bodies, all levels of fitness, all levels of like aesthetic imperfection, because then nobody's intimidated to stand in front of your video and work out alongside you.
Absolutely. Real people sell real products all day long. Yeah. So obviously, learning how to get in front of the camera, we have all these new problems with people, like with their self-esteem and their camera and all this stuff that have developed, right? And I think there's a Zoom syndrome and, all kinds of crazy new struggles that people have. But we also have all the old struggles in life that we had before the pandemic, and now extra struggles on top of the pandemic. Do you have a simple trick that somebody could use if they're currently, facing adversity or they're struggling through something? Do you have a simple trick that could help somebody out if they're in that position today?
So for anyone with the Zoom syndrome, I would say for anybody who's struggling as a business owner, an entrepreneur, or somebody looking to expand into the virtual space when it comes to the camera, for me, this was a big thing for me. I had never recorded anything. I had never done a session online. I'd never even used Zoom before transitioning into the virtual space. I just forget that there's a camera there. I look directly at the person. If I'm speaking in, this type of context, I look directly at the person and speak to that person as if they were standing right in front of me. Or as a fitness professional, if I'm recording a video, I just try to ignore the fact that the camera's there. That way you're not focused so much on perfection. But for anybody who's looking to start a fitness journey or who is struggling through like health concerns or fitness concerns as a result of like stagnance or gym closures, what I find the most helpful and the most important, and it seems so simple, is not to look at any sort of end result. Look at what you're doing today, one small thing today, creating a new habit, building a new habit, or breaking an old habit. One small thing, whether it's 5-minute walk or a 15-minute walk or, a few crunches or a few squats, just one small thing each day, and try to enjoy the process. Try not to think so much about an end goal. And you find that the effects of that is very cumulative. So the more you do these small, tiny little tasks, the bigger the effect is going to be on your overall health, wellness, fitness, mental health, everything.
Right. And those small little tasks stack, right? They do. If you keep doing them, I mean, you don't climb a mountain by jumping to the top of it. You do it one small
No.
step at a time. I think that's great advice.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Do you also have any quotes that you think are really inspirational that you really love that you think that our audience should hear?
So I will say I'm not big on memorizing quotes, but again, kind of in line with that is why put off to tomorrow what you can do today. My dad said that to me probably 20 years ago. And obviously, so many of us are guilty of procrastination. We think, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll get to it tomorrow. I'll get to it in an hour. After I finish this, I'll do that. So the way that I set myself up for success in that way is I kind of structure things. What is the smallest, easiest task? And just do it. And I feel like the momentum builds that way because I've done a lot of psychology research as well. That was my minor was psychology. So a lot of those things are cumulative as well. So the tiny little tasks, even if it seems unrelated to the bigger tasks you have, say you wake up in the morning and the goal is to drink 1 liter of water, you just simply sit down, get that 1 liter of water done. Once you finish it, it's like the momentum ball starts rolling for all of your other tasks that you need to do. So if you're just setting yourself up in a way that the small, easy tasks are out of the way in the beginning, you start to get that kind of like invigoration. You feel like, wow, I've accomplished quite a bit today, even these small little things that I thought were insignificant. Maybe I can then start taking on the bigger tasks, whether it's like something for, business related or a workout, something that feels like a little bit daunting will be easier to get done when you've crossed off the little things off your list.
Absolutely. And I think the biggest benefit of that is practicing being in the present, right? When you say you're going to do something, you do it. So you start by practicing small tasks. I give the advice all the time to people that aren't used to that is the things that you're going to do already, you're going to do them, be mindful of doing them instead of just walking through, right? If you wake up in the morning, you go through the same routine every single day, that's great. Wake up tomorrow morning and say, I'm going to go brush my teeth, and then go brush your teeth, and then start being present in that moment. It doesn't even have to be something new to your schedule. It could be something that you do every day. You're just not mindful of it because you're just going through the motions. And I think once you start being mindful of what you're doing and you get in the habit of saying you're going to do something and then immediately doing it, your life starts to change. You're doing it. You're not talking about it anymore. And I think that's a huge thing. Those small steps and then committing to doing what you say you're going to do. Both of those things and one tip I think are phenomenal for people to do. And it seems super obvious, right? It does seem so obvious, but it's so easy to get caught up in the day-to-day of, oh, I can run on autopilot and that's fine. And it is fine, but there's a difference between living and existing. And if you're just going through the motions, you're just existing. You're not really grabbing this life and doing everything that you possibly could with it. And that's probably sad.
Well, and
unfortunately.
And the psychological impact of not doing what you want to do or not doing what you're saying you're going to do is very profound. So I think, like you said, being mindful of the small things, the routines that you already have that are helping you move forward or helping you accomplish the smaller goals or contributing to the bigger goals. Like health is a really big one. That's my primary focus. So all of those, like brushing your teeth, that contributes to your overall health. So It is really important to stop and acknowledge all of the small wins. So you start to improve on your own accountability to yourself and your belief system in your ability to achieve your overall health. Because every time you eat, something healthy, if you eat a great meal that's like, an ideal spread of like protein, fats, and carbohydrates, that's an accomplishment. Acknowledge the accomplishment because you've taken that one small step to your big picture health goal. So it's never ending. Like almost every goal, unless you have a very tangible like income goal or an investment goal or a purchase of something, almost every goal in my world, the health and wellness world, there is no end to it. It is ongoing. So that can become very daunting and overwhelming if you think, I just want to achieve optimal health. Like, what is optimal health? It's undefinable. So these little small things every day is you achieving optimal health. These are your steps towards doing what you want to do and living that lifestyle that allows you to do the other things outside of health.
Right. And I think if you want to put fuel on that fire, celebrate those little wins. be silly with it. Like treat you when you wake up, you do that morning routine, you're doing that for you. You don't even realize that you're doing it for yourself, and you're doing a lot of good stuff for you and your body right there in the morning. And it's so routine, and you're not celebrating it. You're not proud of yourself for doing those things. And it's boring crap. Nobody wants to do it, but we've just trained ourselves to get up and do it. And we should celebrate those things, that we do those things for ourselves, and you should love yourself and all that those great things. So I think if you start having those mindsets, your life will change. I promise you, it's weird. It's not hocus pocus. It's real stuff. Fantastic. So we love to talk about technology on Clicks and Bricks. I'm a tech nerd, have been my whole life. How do you think technology is going to change your industry in the future, knowing that we just had this huge change in the past 2 years in this entire industry? What do you think the future is going to be?
So, as I said, I've used technology a lot more as a result of the pandemic, with the transition into virtual. But I've also consulted on several different like technology startup companies, primarily apps that help either improve business development for personal trainers and fitness professionals, or that help connect fitness professionals with clients, potential clients in the outside world. So I've seen a lot of development on that side of things. I find that super interesting. I absolutely love it. I think I've worked with 3 different companies now doing kind of bridging the gap between the fitness industry and the tech industry. So I think there are so many opportunities, and I think that it will only make my industry more accessible, because when you have technologies that simplify the business for the trainer, you eliminate a lot of that overhead cost, which we've all unfortunately had to invest. And that's what kind of weeds people out of the fitness industry, which is very unfortunate. We have lots of very qualified, very skilled trainers that just can't manage the business end of things because it requires such a huge overhead investment. And I think with the technologies that are coming in, at least on the ones that I've consulted on, they're eliminating more of the investment for the trainer, and it's kind of like connecting you and giving you a little bit more of that brand exposure, so that trainers can just focus on being trainers. They can focus on the fitness aspect, the skill development, and then the third party kind of go between does the other work for them. So that's something I'm very, very passionate about, is business development. Because before I started as a trainer, I was in sales full time. So I did a lot of sales, a lot of business development, and then kind of connected it that way. But I'm like an anomaly in the fitness industry. Most people don't know how to sell themselves. They don't know how to build a brand. They don't know how to gain exposure. So it's a limitation. I think it's a limitation in probably most service providers, anyone who doesn't have a business background. So I think tech is where tech will bridge that gap and connect more of the business mind with the fitness mind and make it a lot easier. And I could see that being the case in almost all service industries, like beauty services, aesthetic services, because they're really not like nurse estheticians. They're not business centered. Right. They're strictly there to provide their service. So I think it's great connecting them for a very, very low cost, because apps really, when you sign up for an app as a service provider, the cost is often very low to the users. So I think that that's probably where it's going. Obviously, there's the advent of like physical technology that trainers are using, and health technology, especially health monitoring, that's really helpful for us and helps us kind of extend into connect with the medical industry and give us a little bit more data to work with as far as building more effective personal training. So like heart rate monitors, sleep monitors, the posture monitors, those kind of things, which we wouldn't have seen 5 years ago.
No, not at all. The wearables and the sensors are going to be huge for the fitness industry moving forward.
Yeah.
Connectivity. So when you first left the big box gym, you went to what I would call a co-op, right?
Yeah.
Is that what you think? There's going to be these online co-ops similar to that to help people bridge that gap with the business and the personal trainer so that they can be who they are? Or when you say the app, are you talking almost like an Uber for personal training?
Yes. So that was the first company I worked for, was an Uber for personal training. It was more of a like sales. They do the sales for you. So they bring you the potential clients and they make those connections, like a virtual prospecting space. But that was connecting people to train in person, because that was before the pandemic. So you could do the same thing and connect people in the virtual space with virtual trainers. There are online communities that have developed, a lot of them actually, and I've had a lot of them approach me to do classes. So it's like a collective. So they will have a platform, whether it's an app-based or web-based, they'll have a platform and they've got a bunch of different fitness and wellness professionals coming in, hosting virtual classes, usually through Zoom. Some of them have their own like connection space. But then the trainers and the professionals who are working there can collaborate with each other. So that's really beneficial for obviously exposure and growth. I've done a lot of like collaborations with yoga instructors and stuff like that because that's not my niche, but we kind of share a demographic. Those like collective spaces will provide that opportunity as well. The builders of my website actually do that. So they've got like a platform where everybody who has websites through them, like they're web developers, they kind of connect us and they create like a little bit of a client pool exposure for us. But when I first left the big box gym, that was more of a physical space. I won't say that was super beneficial for exposure because it's a PT only space. So everyone's bringing in their own clients. So unless you're stealing clients from other people, you're not really gaining any exposure there. But it's a collaborative space that helps to overcome the competition in the industry because fitness is extremely competitive. And there's a lot of people who get really bogged down, like we said earlier, with that aspect of like competition. What do I have to offer? I'm looking at these other people that are more fit or they have more clients. I have nothing to offer to compete with that. I think these like co-working spaces, whether they're physical or virtual, help to overcome that because you realize that everybody has something different to offer. And everybody also has like every single person you come in contact with has something they can teach you as a fellow fitness professional, whether they're more or less experienced than you, it doesn't matter. Everybody's doing things differently. So you can learn from each other. For me, that was super, super important when I was working for the startup because as a fitness professional, I would like to see the standards in the industry elevated. I would love to see the industry regulated because it's unregulated. It's kind of a free-for-all in a lot of ways. And unfortunately, as fitness consumers, most people don't know where to go or how to gauge quality in fitness professionals. So there's no like standardized database where they can be like, here's my needs. I want someone who's really experienced and really advanced in this because everybody can say whatever they want to say and get away with it. So I found that having these collective spaces kind of helps stratify the industry naturally, where if somebody comes into that virtual collective space or physical collective, they can kind of see what's out there. And they're like, whether they're training with one person or coming into a class, be like, oh, I can see that trainer and what they have to offer versus this trainer. And you kind of naturally can develop a like quality spectrum.
Right. Fantastic. So if somebody wanted to work with you, how would they get in contact with you? Or do you have any offers, first class or anything like that? How would they get in contact with you to get started with the process?
So my website or my Instagram would be the best place. My Instagram is Balance with Bree and my website is balancewithbree.com. I am offering complimentary consultations right now, whether that's for private or semi-private training. So they can just go online on my website, fill out the form where I can go ahead from there and schedule a consultation or just send me a DM on Instagram and I'll get back to them.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time today. Very much appreciate it. I love your tips and tricks. Do you have anything you'd like to leave the audience with before we go today?
The pandemic is hard. It's been hard for everybody. So I think one of the most important take-home messages, I know in Toronto, we are still dealing with the pandemic. We are in lockdown again, and a lot of the world is kind of going in that direction. I think the best thing that you can do is just take everything one day at a time and be kind to yourself. So especially from a fitness perspective, everybody has ebbs and flows. When we've got these really profound, stressful events that affect everybody, just do what you can today, right now, within the next hour, to be kind to your body, to be kind to your mind.
Absolutely. And I'd like to add to that, don't judge yourself for yesterday. Live today.
No.
Fantastic. Thank you, Bree, so much for your time. I hope to talk again soon.
Thank you.
That's it for today's show, folks. If you'd like to join my text line community, it's 314-370-2871. Get to work.